Preet, this is Kimberly and Amadou, and the topic we chose to talk about was why people with mental illness should not be kept in jail. Just to start off, mental illness is a wide range of condition that affects mood, thinking, and behavior. It could even lead up to eating disorders, hurting people around you, even hurting yourself. Hurting yourself is what usually goes to. And to start off, we'll give you guys some statistics.
Hi everyone. So I'm here today to give you a definition about mental health and the types of mental health. First, mental illness refers to a wide range of mental health condition disorder that affect your mood, your thinking, and behavior. Example of mental health: we have depression, anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, PTSD. So I'm gonna go one by one and define the types of mental illness. Schizophrenia is a chronic and severe mental disorder that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. People with schizophrenia may seem like they have lost touch with reality. Although schizophrenia is not as common as other mental illnesses, symptoms can be very disabling. About PTSD, PTSD is a disorder that some people develop after experiencing a shocking, scary, or dangerous event. People who have PTSD may feel stressed or frightened even when they are no longer in danger. Anxiety disorder involves more than temporary worry or fear for a person. With an anxiety, the anxiety does not go away. Causes of mental illness. Although the exact cause of mental illness is not known, it is becoming clear through research that many of these conditions are caused by a combination of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. It can be hereditary. It can be heredity. There are infectious, brain defect or injury, parental damage, and substance abuse that can cause mental illness. There are 1.25 million mentally ill in the justice statistic in the United States, compared to 40,000 in mental hospitals. Inmates are not receiving proper treatment. This also affects the chance of them having any progress. Statistics of inmates who have mental illness in jail. According to the U.S. Bureau, in 2013, 300,000 mentally ill people were held in the U.S. jail. About the money that is being spent for people with mental illness in jail. The average cost for one person is $31,000 per year per person. Money should be used to help and benefit in the correct treatment for mentally ill people, and could also be used to create better institutions. So, according to the state of Virginia, the number of inmates with mental illness from the year 2008 to 2016, I have the statistic here on the board. So I don't know if you guys want me to read it or you're gonna check it. So in 2009, number of inmates with mental illness, 4,278. Female, 27%, male, 72%. In 2010, 867. Female 26%, male 73%. In 2011, 6,481, female 28%, male 71%. So I'm gonna jump to 3 years and tell you the last year, 2016. In 2016, 6,554 total, female 28%, male 71%.
Moving on, I will be giving you a few stories of few inmates who had mental illness and were in jail. Here you have a picture of Kaylee. She was 20 years old. She was a college student. She went to college in Los Angeles, and one day, unfortunately, she was caught with drugs in her what do you call those? Dorms. She was caught with drugs in her dorms. Thank you. And then was sent to jail. In jail, after interview, doctors found out she was suffering with mental illness, where she liked hurting herself. So because of that, they took all her equipment away and sent her to solitary confinement. Now, if anyone doesn't know what solitary confinement is, it's a very little cell where you're isolated just by yourself, and you get little to no contact with people outside. So while being in there, she would scream every day for hours and hours, and no one would come to help because there was nothing anyone could have done. There's nothing that someone could do anyway. So one day, after this is according to Los Angeles Times, after 4 hours of her continuously screaming, she suddenly just stops. And later, when the guards go up to check on her, she had gouged her own eyeballs out and ate them. And a few hours after that incident, she was found dead. Well, she died. She was found dead. This next person here is Justin, and the information I got on him was from Washington Post. Now, Justin, we'll start off his story about 20 years from about now. He lived in New Jersey, and he had moved to Miami because his brother told him to. He said he would have a better life there because he had a problem with drug abuse past in his life. After being in Miami after a while, he lived alone. No, at first he started living with his brother, and he was still having problems with drugs, so his brother kicked him out. And after that, he got a job, he stopped doing drugs, and he stayed on his own. But unfortunately for him, a few months after he got a job, when he finally thought he had everything good to go, he started hearing things in his house. And according to him, he thought that it was the government spying on him through the technology that he had in his apartment. So he threw out every piece of technology that he had, and pretty much had nothing, no tech around him whatsoever. And he continued back on his drugs, and unfortunately because of that, he lost his job. And because of drugs, again, he was sent to jail. And while he was in jail, again, he heard noises, but this time he had no idea where they were coming from because there was no technology around him. He started having problems with his inmate, his inmate buddy. He thought that while Justin was sleeping, that the inmate would come to him and start telling things like, "Kill yourself. Go jump off the railing right now." And because of that, he started fighting with his inmate every night, but the inmate had no idea. So because of that, again, he was also one who was put in solitary confinement. And in solitary confinement, he started hurting himself. He would run into the wall, try to pick up the bed, and then hit himself with it, which was later, he would move to a different cell where the bed was made out of concrete. A few days later, when he continued his tantrum, he started banging his head on the wall, trying to kill himself. Fortunately for him, he survived, and later they kept on his tantrums a lot because he was mentally ill. But soon after he stopped, and they took him out of solitary confinement. He was with the rest of the inmates. A few years later, he did get out, and hopefully now is living a good, healthy life. This last person here is Lindsay. This is from Minnesota News. Now, Lindsay was a person you would never think who even had mental illness or even go to jail. She was actually, from her parents, described as a perfect, ideal daughter. She went to church every Sunday. She sang for the choir. I think that's what it's called, right? Choir? Right. So she sang for the choir. She studied medical in her college. She was going for her master's, and she had 2 kids at home. One day, the kids were a little loud, and she was trying to make them quiet. So to make them quiet, she held her hand on top in front of their mouth, but held on for a little bit too long, so they both died. yeah, kids unfortunately died, and because of that, prior up to that moment, no one thought that she was even suffering with a mental illness. I'm not sure what her mental illness was exactly, but and then she went to prison. That's where they found out that she had a mental illness. Up there, she was on suicide watch for about 2 years, and because she couldn't take it, because her judge said that the minimum her jail time before receiving parole was 86 years. So either way, she was gonna die in jail. So she tried killing herself for a straight 2 years. She tried jumping off the railing at one time in her imprisonment. Fortunately for her, she survived. And then she was sent to solitary confinement. Now, if you notice, all of them are being sent to solitary confinement. Now, that's supposed to help you, but it's really not. It's just making your situation even 10 times worse. It's one thing keeping you alone. That's where you could pretty much kill yourself right there. Which one inmate was successful in killing herself? Herself. So she was sent to solitary confinement. Now, at night, even though the lights are on and the guards do come by and check on you for a while, she took time and she noticed on what time the guard would not be around her. So she took her blanket and she tried to strangle herself. She passed out eventually, but lucky for her, she did not die. That was about 5 years ago. Now she's out of solitary confinement and back in regular cell, but she's now waiting to hear from her lawyers to lower down her jail time. Now we're gonna move on to Kimberly, who will be telling you a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm talking about the solution. So first of all, we could bring awareness, and to do this, we can partner up with the organization called NAMI, and I think you say it like that. So this organization is working together with criminal justice leaders, county and state leaders, and mental health professionals to help people with illnesses to get support and services needed to stay out of jail. So what we can do, we can become a member, and by becoming a member, I'm pretty sure all you have to do is like pay a certain fee for a one-time fee, and then you get mailed articles, things like that, to stay better informed about the situation. You can also donate money. That way they can create more campaigns and create more awareness. You can also, if you can't do either of those, you can also join their marathons. They have marathons every month for different types of mental illnesses. Right? You can also create programs in jails. Although there are many programs in jails that help inmates rehabilitate, many of those programs are limited to a certain amount of people, and not everybody is able to get into the programs. So some programs we can create include how to handle their emotions, how to open up to others, how to control your anger, and how to take care of inmates with mental illnesses. Okay, so these programs aren't just going to help people with mental illnesses on how to handle their emotions or how to speak to others. That way others can know how they're feeling or how to help them out. It also help other people in jails that are there because they either have anger issues, stuff like that. And one program that's doing this already is a Illinois County Jail. So they created this Stepping Up mental health screening, and for this screening they bring in the inmates, and then they screen them for testing if they have mental illnesses, and if they do have a mental illness, they give medication to them. Okay, we can also create more facilities. So according to Okasha in his report, Mental Patients in Prisons, Punishment versus Treatment, many institutions between 1982 and 2001 have been closed down. And because of this, many people have ended up in jail because that's the only place they seem to be able to have room for them. And jails are meant to keep out people who have acted against the law and have harmed others around them. And I believe that people with mental illnesses shouldn't be kept in jails just because they have acted out against others. They didn't really commit a crime that highly. Right, so in conclusion, mental illnesses have long affected the lives of many people and still continue to affect many. And people in jail are not the only ones that also suffer through mental illnesses. There are many. I'm pretty sure a lot of us in this room probably do suffer from mental illnesses. And how we can change this in jail, we can bring awareness, like I said earlier, and we can also stop, by bringing awareness, we can stop the government from using the tax dollars and other things, and maybe start building facilities that can help others.
To sum it up, one more second. To sum it all up, we gave you statistics on how jails actually work right now, and how many people in there are suffering from mental illness. And one statistic we might have missed out is that overall, about 60% of the people who end up in jails are ones who have mental illness, and out of them, 50% of that 60% end up going to solitary confinement, and out of that 50%, about 30% of them end up hurting themselves, and 2% of them actually were successful in killing themselves. So, and then give you statistics, and one thing we gave you are stories of people who actually went through it, successful, and lastly, we gave you solutions on what you could do to help out this cause, and what you can do to prevent other people from going into jails but instead go into these camps or treatment centers where they could better themselves. Thank you.